Question 1. Topic: Equitable remedies. Specific performance when implementing new protocols in a shared environment. A software company enters into a contract with a specialized IT service provider to develop and maintain a custom-built cybersecurity system. The contract explicitly states that the system must be delivered by a certain deadline and must meet specific performance benchmarks. Halfway through the development process, the IT service provider attempts to withdraw, citing unforeseen technical challenges and increased costs. The software company, fearing reputational harm and security vulnerabilities, seeks a remedy in court to compel the IT provider to complete the project. Which of the following legal remedies is the most appropriate for the court to grant? A. Expectation damages to compensate for the anticipated losses from the IT provider's breach. B. Specific performance to require the IT provider to complete the cybersecurity system. C. Punitive damages to penalize the IT provider for failing to meet contractual obligations. D. Restitution to recover the funds already paid to the IT provider. Answer: B. Specific performance to require the IT provider to complete the cybersecurity system. Explanation: specific performance is an equitable remedy that requires a breaching party to fulfill its contractual obligations when monetary damages are insufficient to provide adequate relief. Courts typically grant specific performance in cases where the subject matter of the contract is unique or irreplaceable, e.g. real estate rate. Custom-built software. The breach would cause irreparable harm to the non-breaching party. The contract terms are definite and enforceable. In this case, monetary damages might not fully compensate for the security risks and reputational damage faced by the software company. The custom-built nature of the cybersecurity system makes it difficult to find an adequate replacement, making specific performance the most appropriate remedy. Why not the other option? A. Expectation damages. While expectation damages could compensate for financial losses, they would not address the urgent cybersecurity concerns and potential irreparable harm. C. Punitive damages. Punitive damages are rare in contract cases and typically only apply when there is fraud, bad faith, or willful misconduct, which is not explicitly indicated in this case. D. Restitution. Restitution would allow the software company to payments already made but would not force completion of the cybersecurity system, which is the main concern. Question 2. Topic: Remedies in tort law. Punitive damages. In a high-stakes environment where multiple challenges arise, a pharmaceutical company manufactures and sells a new pain relief drug. After several years on the market, reports surfaced that the company deliberately concealed clinical trial results indicating that the drug significantly increases the risk of heart failure. Hundreds of patients have suffered severe health complications, and lawsuits are filed seeking damages. What type of remedy is most likely to be awarded to punish the company for its conduct? A. Compensatory damages to reimburse medical expenses and lost wages. B. Nominal damages to recognize that a legal wrong occurred without major financial harm. C. Punitive damages to punish and deter the pharmaceutical company's misconduct. D. Restitution to force the company to return profits earned from selling the drug. Answer: C. Punitive damages to punish and deter the pharmaceutical company's misconduct. Explanation: punitive damages are awarded in cases where defendant's conduct is particularly egregious, reckless, or willfully fraudulent. Their purpose is not to compensate the victim but to punish the wrongdoer and deter similar behavior in the future. Courts typically grant punitive damages in cases involving intentional misconduct or gross negligence, or concealment of critical information that causes harm, reckless disregard for public safety. In this scenario, the pharmaceutical company deliberately concealed trial results about life-threatening side effects. Courts have historically awarded substantial punitive damages in similar cases involving corporate misconduct, such as tobacco and asbestos litigation. Why not the other options? Compensatory damages. While compensatory damages are likely awarded for medical costs and lost wages, they do not serve to punish the pharmaceutical company's conduct. B. Nominal damages. Nominal damages apply when there is legal wrong but no significant financial harm, which is not the case here. D. Restitution. Restitution would require the company to return profits, but it does not punish or deter wrongdoing as effective punitive damages. Question 3. Topic: Remedies in constitutional and civil rights cases. injunctive relief while investigating a complicated issue between different governmental agencies. A civil rights organization discovers that a city's police department has been conducting unlawful surveillance of activist groups without warrants. Evidence reveals that this practice has been ongoing for several years, leading to the unlawful detention of multiple individuals. The organization files lawsuit requesting the court to intervene and halt the surveillance immediately. What is the most appropriate remedy in this case? A preliminary injunction to immediately stop the unlawful surveillance pending trial. B. Liquidated damages based on predetermined penalties set by federal law. C. Nominal damages since the case involves constitutional rights violations. D. Reformation order to modify police department policies on surveillance. Answer: A. A preliminary injunction to immediately stop the unlawful surveillance pending trial. Explanation: a preliminary injunction is a type of equitable remedy issued before a final decision is made in a case. It is used to prevent ongoing or imminent harm while the case is being litigated. Courts grant preliminary injunctions when the plaintiff can demonstrate a likelihood of success on the merits, i.e., strong evidence of illegal surveillance, irreparable harm if the practice is not immediately halted, that the public interest favors an injunction, i.e., protecting constitutional rights. In cases involving constitutional violations, courts frequently issue injunctions to prevent ongoing harm such as illegal surveillance, unlawful detentions, or discrimination. Why not the other options? B. Liquidated damages. Liquidated damages are preset contractual penalties, but this case involves a constitutional violation, not a contract dispute. C. Nominal damages. While nominal damages may apply in some civil rights cases, the urgent need to stop ongoing surveillance makes an injunction the more appropriate remedy. D. Reformation. Reformation is used to correct written agreements, e.g., contracts that contain it. It does not apply to unconstitutional government policies. Question 4. During a critical transition period where existing processes for compensatory damages are being reviewed, a court faces a case where a plaintiff, a small business owner, is seeking damages after a breach of contract by a supplier. The breach resulted in significant financial losses, including lost future profits, but the plaintiff did not have written projections of anticipated revenue before the breach. The defendant argues damages are too speculative. Under the legal principles governing compensatory damages, what is the likely outcome? A. The plaintiff will be awarded full damages for lost profits as the defendant's breach caused the harm. B. The plaintiff will be awarded only reliance damages as lost profits are too speculative to be recovered. C. The plaintiff will receive full expectation damages as courts generally assume profits in business contracts. D. The plaintiff will not recover any damages as compensatory damages require absolute certainty in proving loss. Answer: B. The plaintiff will be awarded only reliance damages as lost profits are too speculative to be recovered. Explanation: compensatory damages in contract law aim to place the injured party in the position they would have been in had the contract been performed. Courts require proof of damages with reasonable certainty. Lost profits are recoverable only if they are foreseeable, caused by the breach, and reasonably certain in amount. Hadley v. Baxendale. In this case, because the plaintiff did not have prior financial records or written projections, the court is likely to consider the damages too speculative. However, reliance damages, out-of-pocket expenses incurred due to the breach can still be recovered. Option is incorrect because lost profits require reasonable basis for calculation. Option C is incorrect because expectation damages are not automatically assumed. Option D is incorrect because absolute certainty is not required. Only reasonable certainty standard. Question 5. While investigating a complicated issue between different business partners, a court considers whether to impose a constructive trust after one partner secretly diverts company funds into a personal offshore account. The defrauded partner seeks restitutionary relief. Which of the following is the most accurate legal principle governing this case? A. The constructive trust is appropriate because equity will not allow unjust enrichment. B. The partner must prove monetary damages before equitable relief is granted. C. Legal remedies must be exhausted before any equitable remedy can be considered. D. A constructive trust cannot be imposed because no physical property was misappropriated. Answer A. A constructive trust is appropriate because equity will not allow unjust enrichment. Explanation: a constructive trust is an equitable remedy used to prevent unjust enrichment when someone wrongfully acquires property. In cases of fraud, misappropriation, or breach of fiduciary duty, courts may impose a constructive trust to require the wrongdoer to hold the property for the rightful owner. Restatement. Third, of restitution and unjust enrichment. Here, the partner diverted company funds for personal gain, making a constructive trust appropriate. Option B is incorrect because restitutionary remedies do not require proving monetary damages first. Option C is incorrect because equitable remedies may be granted even if legal remedies are available, depending on the circumstances. Option D is incorrect because constructive trusts apply to both tangible and intangible property, including diverted funds. Question 6. In a high-stakes environment where multiple challenges arise in enforcing punitive damages, a court must determine whether to award such damages in a tort case involving reckless corporate misconduct. The defendant, a pharmaceutical company, knowingly marketed a defective drug causing severe injuries. Which of the following factors will most influence the court's decision in awarding punitive damages? A. The plaintiff's actual damages must be at least 10 times higher than the requested punitive damages. B. Punitive damages can only be awarded if compensatory damages have already been paid in full. C. The degree of reprehensibility of the defendant's misconduct is key factor in determining punitive damages. D. Punitive damages are automatically granted when gross negligence is proven. Answer. C. The degree of reprehensibility of the defendant's misconduct is key factor in determining punitive damages. Explanation. Punitive damages are designed to punish wrongful conduct and deter future misconduct. Under the U.S. Supreme Court's ruling in E. North America v. Gore, 1996, courts consider 3 factors when determining punitive damages. 1. The degree of reprehensibility of the conduct. 2. The ratio of punitive to compensatory damages. And 3. Comparable civil penalties. The degree of reprehensibility is the most important factor and includes whether the harm was physical, the conduct was intentional or reckless, and whether the defendant acted with indifference to human life. Option is incorrect because courts do not require 10:1 ratio for damages. Option B is incorrect because punitive damages can be awarded alongside compensatory damages. Option D is incorrect because gross negligence alone does not guarantee punitive damages. Courts assess other factors such as intent and harm caused. Question 7. During a comprehensive review of a process that needs improvement, a company sues for specific performance after a supplier refuses to deliver rare materials necessary for production. The supplier argues that monetary damages would be sufficient. What is the most critical factor the court will consider in determining whether to grant specific performance? A. The difficulty in proving the exact amount of damages. B. The uniqueness of the materials and whether substitute goods are available. C. The financial hardship on the supplier if specific performance is ordered. D. Whether the contract explicitly states specific performance as a remedy. Answer. B. The uniqueness of the materials and whether substitute goods are available. Explanation. Specific performance is an equitable remedy granted when monetary damages are inadequate. Courts typically award specific performance in cases involving unique goods, e.g., rare materials, real estate where substitutes are unavailable. Access to 716. Here, if the materials are rare and cannot be easily replaced, specific performance justified. Option is incorrect because difficulty in proving damages alone does not warrant specific performance. Option C is incorrect because courts focus on the availability of substitutes rather than financial hardship on the breaching party. Option D is incorrect because the contract specifying remedy does not override the court's discretion in granting equitable relief. Question 8. In a situation where formal requirements conflict with equitable relief principles, a plaintiff seeks rescission of a contract due to fraudulent misrepresentation. However, the contract contains a clause stating that all disputes must be resolved through arbitration. How will the court likely resolve this conflict? A. The arbitration clause is binding and the plaintiff must seek relief through arbitration. B. Rescission is an equitable remedy and courts can override the arbitration clause if fraud is involved. C. The plaintiff must prove damages first before rescission can be considered. D. The court will enforce the contract as written, regardless of fraud claims. Answer. B. Rescission is an equitable remedy, and courts can override the arbitration clause if fraud is involved. Explanation. While arbitration clauses are generally enforceable under the Federal Arbitration Act, courts have the authority to set aside arbitration clauses when fraud undermines the entire contract. Prima Paint Corp. v. Flood and Conklin MFG. Opini 1967. If fraud was used to induce the contract itself, rescission may be appropriate and arbitration may not be enforced. Option is incorrect because arbitration clauses can be challenged when fraud is a fundamental issue. Option C is incorrect because rescission does not require monetary damages. Option D is incorrect because courts do not enforce fraudulent contracts. Question 9. While managing a hybrid approach where timing issues impact relief, a plaintiff seeks both an injunction and monetary damages in a tort case. Under what circumstances can a court grant both forms of relief? A. Injunctive relief and damages are mutually exclusive and cannot be awarded together. B. If legal remedies are inadequate, equitable relief. Injunction may be granted alongside monetary damages. C. A plaintiff must elect either monetary damages or injunctive relief before filing a lawsuit. D. Injunctions are only available for breach of contract claims, not tort cases. Answer. B. If legal remedies are inadequate, equitable relief. Injunction may be granted alongside monetary damages. Explanation. Courts may grant both injunctive relief and damages when legal remedies alone are inadequate. Injunctive relief prevents future harm, while damages compensate for past losses, e.g., nuisance cases, intellectual property disputes. Option is incorrect because both remedies can be granted in the same case. Option C is incorrect because plaintiffs are not forced to choose between remedies upfront. Option D is incorrect because injunctions are available in various tort cases, e.g., defamation, environmental harm. Question 10. During a critical transition period where existing processes for equitable remedies are being reviewed, a court is asked to grant an injunction against a developer constructing a building that would block oceanfront property views. The plaintiff, a neighboring property owner, argues that the obstruction constitutes a private nuisance. The developer contends that monetary damages would suffice. What is the most relevant factor the court will consider deciding whether to grant the injunction? A. The financial burden on the developer if the injunction is granted. B. Whether the plaintiff can prove that money damages are inadequate. C. The total property value of both parties' estates. D. The developer's intent when beginning construction. Answer. B. Whether the plaintiff can prove that money damages are inadequate. Explanation. An injunction is an equitable remedy used when legal damages, monetary compensation, are inadequate to address the harm. In nuisance cases, courts consider whether the plaintiff's loss is unique and irreplaceable. If court finds that the view obstruction significantly affects the plaintiff's property value or enjoyment and monetary damages cannot sufficiently compensate for this loss, an injunction may be granted. Option is incorrect because financial hardship to the defendant is relevant but not the primary factor in deciding equitable relief. Courts focus on the plaintiff's harm rather than the defendant's inconvenience. Option C is incorrect because total property value does not determine whether legal damages are inadequate. Option D is incorrect because the developer's intent is not the primary consideration unless fraud or bad faith is involved. Thus, the court will primarily assess whether monetary relief would be insufficient, making an injunction the appropriate remedy. Question 11. While investigating a complicated issue between competing business owners, a court must decide whether to enforce liquidated damages in a commercial lease agreement. The lease includes a clause stating that if the tenant breaches the contract, they must pay a fixed penalty of $500,000. The tenant argues that this clause is unenforceable because it constitutes a penalty rather than a reasonable estimate of damages. Under contract law, what is the most important factor the court will consider? A. Whether the liquidated damages amount was negotiated in good faith. B. Whether the damages were difficult to calculate at the time of contracting. C. Whether the tenant had an opportunity to negotiate the contract terms. D. Whether the landlord suffered financial hardship as a result of the breach. Answer. B. Whether the damages were difficult to calculate at the time of contracting. Explanation. Courts enforce liquidated damages clauses only if they are a reasonable estimate of anticipated damages at the time of contracting and not merely a penalty. Restatement 2nd of Contracts SS 356. Option is incorrect because good faith negotiations do not automatically validate an otherwise excessive liquidated damages clause. Option C is incorrect because the tenant's ability to negotiate does not determine enforceability. Courts analyze whether the clause serves as penalty. Option D is incorrect because the landlord's actual financial hardship is irrelevant if the damages were not difficult to estimate at the outset. If the clause is deemed penalty rather than a reasonable prediction of harm, it will not be enforced. Question 12. In a high-stakes environment where multiple challenges arise in enforcing restitutionary damages, a plaintiff sues a former business partner who wrongfully retained profits from a joint venture. The plaintiff seeks restitution instead of compensatory damages. What is the primary difference between restitution and compensatory damages in this context? A. Restitution aims to restore the plaintiff to their original position, while compensatory damages seek to punish the defendant. B. Restitution focuses on preventing unjust enrichment, while compensatory damages focus on compensating for the plaintiff's loss. C. Restitution requires proving actual monetary loss, while compensatory damages do not. D. Restitution is only available when contract is rescinded. Answer. B. Restitution focuses on preventing unjust enrichment, while compensatory damages focus on compensating for the plaintiff's loss. Explanation. Restitution and compensatory damages serve different purposes. Compensatory damages seek to make the plaintiff whole by reimbursing for actual losses. Restitution prevents the defendant from being unjustly enriched at the plaintiff's expense. Option is incorrect because compensatory damages do not serve punitive function. Punitive damages do. Option C is incorrect because restitution can be available even when the plaintiff did not suffer direct monetary loss, so long as the defendant was unjustly enriched. Option D is incorrect because restitution is available in many cases, not just when contract is rescinded. Here, restitution would require the wrongfully retained profits to be returned to prevent unjust enrichment. Question 13. During a comprehensive review of a process that needs improvement, a judge considers whether to grant rescission of a contract due to material misrepresentation. The defendant argues that the plaintiff has already accepted partial performance. What is the most critical issue in determining whether rescission is still an available remedy? A. Whether the misrepresentation was intentional or negligent. B. Whether the plaintiff can restore the benefits received under the contract. C. Whether the contract contains a merger clause. D. Whether the plaintiff suffered financial loss as a result of that misrepresentation. Answer. B. Whether the plaintiff can restore the benefits received under the contract. Explanation. Rescission is an equitable remedy that nullifies a contract and restores both parties to their pre-contractual positions. One key requirement for rescission is the plaintiff's ability to return any benefits received under the contract. Option is incorrect because rescission can be granted for either intentional or negligent misrepresentation. Option C is incorrect because merger clause does not necessarily prevent rescission when fraud is involved. Option D is incorrect because financial loss is not required for rescission. Immaterial misrepresentation alone can justify. If the plaintiff cannot return what was received, rescission may not be granted. Question 14. In a situation where formal requirements conflict with equitable relief principles, a plaintiff sues for reformation of a contract due to a mutual mistake. The defendant argues the contract terms are unambiguous and should be enforced as written. How will the court likely resolve this dispute? A. The court will only grant reformation if fraud was involved. B. The court will reform the contract if clear and convincing evidence of a mutual mistake is presented. C. The contract must be enforced as written unless both parties explicitly agree to reformation. D. Reformation is unavailable if the mistake was caused by negligence. Answer. B. The court will reform the contract if clear and convincing evidence of a mutual mistake is presented. Explanation. Reformation is an equitable remedy that allows courts to correct written contracts to reflect the true agreement of the parties when a mutual mistake occurs. Restatement. Second of Contracts SS 155. Option is incorrect because reformation does not require fraud. Mutual mistake is sufficient. Option C is incorrect because reformation is available even if one party objects. Option D is incorrect because mutual mistake, even if caused by negligence, can justify reformation. To succeed, the plaintiff must show clear and convincing evidence that the contract does not reflect the party's true intent. Question 15. In a high-stakes environment where multiple challenges arise in financial compliance, a multinational corporation is being investigated for possible violations of anti-money laundering regulations. The compliance team argues that they implemented Know Your Customer (KYC) procedures, but regulators found gaps in transaction monitoring. What is the primary factor regulators will consider in determining whether the company has AML obligations? A. The percentage of transactions reviewed manually by compliance officers. B. Whether the company's AML program is reasonably designed to detect and prevent money laundering. C. Whether the company has successfully prevented all fraudulent transactions. D. The total revenue generated from customers flagged as high risk. Answer: B. Whether the company's IMA program is reasonably designed to detect and prevent money laundering. Explanation: regulatory authorities evaluate whether the company has implemented reasonably effective IMA program rather than demanding perfect record in preventing fraudulent transactions. Option is incorrect because the proportion of transactions manually reviewed does not determine compliance. Option C is incorrect because companies are not required to prevent all fraudulent transactions, only to have adequate safeguards in place. Option D is incorrect because revenue from high-risk customers is not direct measure of ML compliance. Thus, the primary concern is whether the ML program is proactively designed to detect and prevent financial crimes. Question 16. During a critical transition period where existing processes for cybersecurity governance are being updated, a financial institution suffers a data breach exposing sensitive customer information. Executives claim that their existing protocols were compliant with industry standards. What will regulators primarily assess when determining liability? A. Whether the institution had a written cybersecurity policy in place. B. Whether the institution conducted regular penetration testing and risk assessments. C. Whether any employees knowingly participated in the data breach. D. The total number of records exposed in the breach. Answer: B. Whether the institution conducted regular penetration testing and risk assessments. Explanation: regulatory agencies such as the STD evaluate an organization's preventive measures rather than focusing solely on the breach's outcome. Regular penetration testing and risk assessments are key indicators of compliance and proactive risk management. Option is incorrect because merely having policy is insufficient. Implementation and monitoring are required. Option C is incorrect because breaches can occur even without employee misconduct. Option D is incorrect because the number of records exposed does not determine whether adequate security controls were in place. Thus, liability depends on whether the institution diligently monitored and updated its security protocols. Question 17. While investigating a complicated issue between different government agencies, policymakers debate whether to expand whistleblower protections for employees reporting corporate fraud. What is the most significant legal concern in strengthening whistleblower protections? A. Ensuring whistleblowers are protected from retaliation. B. Increasing the financial rewards for whistleblowers. C. Requiring whistleblowers to report fraud internally before going to authorities. D. Reducing the number of false claims filed by whistleblowers. Answer: A. Ensuring whistleblowers are protected from retaliation. Explanation: whistleblower protections under laws such as the Dodd-Frank Act and Sarbanes-Oxley Act primarily focus on preventing retaliation against employees who expose corporate misconduct. Option B is incorrect because financial rewards exist but are not the primary legal issue. Option C is incorrect because forcing internal reporting first may deter whistleblowers from coming forward. Option D is incorrect because while false claims are a concern, the legal priority remains protecting those who report genuine violations. Therefore, anti-retaliation measures are the most significant legal concern when strengthening whistleblower protections. Question 18. In an environment where different components must interact to ensure business continuity, an international supply chain faces severe disruptions due to geopolitical instability. The company must decide whether to invoke force majeure clauses in its contracts. What is the primary factor determining whether force majeure applies? A. Whether the disruption was foreseeable at the time of contract formation. B. The financial impact on both parties due to the disruption. C. Whether both parties negotiated alternative supply arrangements. D. The duration of the supply chain disruption. Answer: A. Whether the disruption was foreseeable at the time of contract formation. Explanation: force majeure clauses excuse performance of a contract when an unforeseen event makes fulfillment impossible or impractical. If the event was foreseeable, courts may deny force majeure relief. Option B is incorrect because financial impact alone does not determine applicability. Option C is incorrect because alternative arrangements may mitigate damages but do not determine force majeure validity. Option D is incorrect because short-term disruptions may not justify invoking force majeure. Thus, courts will first assess whether the event was truly unforeseen at the time of contract formation. Question 19. When developing a solution that must address opposing needs in corporate finance, a CFO must decide between reinvesting profits into innovation or increasing dividend payouts to shareholders. What is the most critical factor in making this decision? A. The company's long-term growth strategy and financial health. B. The current tax treatment of dividends. C. The relative preferences of institutional versus retail investors. D. The company's stock price performance over the past year. Answer A. The company's long-term growth strategy and financial health. Explanation. CFO's decision should align with the company's long-term strategic goals rather than short-term stock movements. Option B is incorrect because tax treatment is secondary factor. Option C is incorrect because while investor preferences matter, they do not override strategic financial planning. Option D is incorrect because short-term stock price fluctuations do not dictate reinvestment decisions. Thus, long-term financial health and innovation strategy are the most critical factors in deciding how to allocate profits. Question 20. During an emergency response where multiple areas are impacted, a government agency must allocate disaster relief funds across regions affected by a hurricane. What is the primary factor in determining how to distribute resources? A. The severity of damage in each region. B. The population density of each affected area. C. The number of requests submitted by local governments. D. Political considerations related to federal funding approvals. Answer A. The severity of damage in each region. Explanation. Disaster relief funding is typically allocated based on objective damage assessments conducted by agencies such as FEMA. Option B is incorrect because population density alone does not determine need. Option C is incorrect because local requests are important but secondary to actual damage assessments. Option D is incorrect because political considerations should not dictate disaster relief allocation. Thus, the primary factor is the severity of damage in each region. Question 21. While analyzing the root causes of sequential problems in financial audits, an external auditor discovers that multiple departments within a corporation use different accounting methods for revenue recognition. How should the auditor proceed to ensure compliance with generally accepted accounting principles (GAAP)? A. Standardize revenue recognition policies across all departments to align with GAAP. B. Report the discrepancies to senior management and let them decide the next steps. C. Identify which department's method is more profitable and recommend adopting that method. D. Conduct an internal survey to determine which method employees prefer. Answer A. Standardize revenue recognition policies across all departments to align with GAAP. Explanation. GAAP requires consistency in revenue recognition policies to ensure financial statements are reliable and comparable. Auditors must standardize policies across all departments to avoid misstatements and regulatory issues. Option B is incorrect because simply reporting the issue without action does not ensure compliance. Option C is incorrect because profitability does not dictate compliance. GAAP principles must be followed. Option D is incorrect because employee preferences are relevant to financial reporting standards. Thus, standardizing revenue recognition policies is the best course of action. Question 22. In a situation where resource allocation becomes critical for a multinational company, executives must decide whether to invest in automation or hire more employees. What is the most important factor in making this decision? A. The long-term cost savings of automation versus labor expenses. B. The immediate availability of skilled workers. C. The impact of automation on employee morale. D. Competitor strategies in workforce management. Answer A. The long-term cost savings of automation versus labor expenses. Explanation. Long-term financial sustainability should guide resource allocation decisions. Automation may require high initial investment but can lead to long-term cost savings, whereas hiring employees may be cheaper upfront but costlier in the long run. Option B is incorrect because short-term workforce availability does not determine a long-term investment strategy. Option C is incorrect because morale is important, but financial viability is the primary factor. Option D is incorrect because companies should base decisions on internal needs, not competitor actions. Thus, evaluating long-term cost effectiveness is the most important consideration. Question 23. When implementing backup procedures across various departments, a company finds inconsistencies in disaster recovery plans. What should be the first step to ensure effective data protection? A. Conduct a company-wide risk assessment to identify vulnerabilities. B. Assign each department the responsibility to create its own backup procedures. C. Implement the most cost-effective backup strategy available. D. Focus solely on securing the most critical systems. Answer A. Conduct a company-wide risk assessment to identify vulnerabilities. Explanation. A company-wide risk assessment ensures that vulnerabilities are identified before implementing a backup strategy. Without this step, backup procedures may be inconsistent or ineffective. Option B is incorrect because departments should follow a unified disaster recovery policy. Option C is incorrect because cost effectiveness should not override security requirements. Option D is incorrect because all systems need protection, not just critical ones. Thus, the first step is conducting a risk assessment. Question 24. During the introduction of new methods where coordination across global teams is essential, a company implements an AI-driven customer support system. Employees in different countries resist the change. What is the most effective strategy for overcoming this resistance? A. Provide comprehensive training and emphasize how AI enhances their roles. B. Mandate immediate adoption and penalize employees who resist. C. Hire a new workforce that is more comfortable with AI technology. D. Ignore the resistance and let employees adjust on their own. Answer A. Provide comprehensive training and emphasize how AI enhances their roles. Explanation. When introducing new methods, training and communication are key to gaining employee buy-in. AI should be framed as a tool to assist employees rather than replace them. Option B is incorrect because forcing adoption creates resentment. Option C is incorrect because firing employees is not a practical solution. Option D is incorrect because ignoring resistance leads to poor adoption and inefficiency. Thus, training and emphasizing AI benefits is the best approach. Question 25. In a case where multiple parties have different objectives, a government agency is negotiating a new healthcare policy with insurance companies and patient advocacy groups. What is the best approach to ensure a fair outcome? A. Balance cost efficiency with patient accessibility and fairness. B. Prioritize reducing costs for insurance companies. C. Favor patient advocacy groups over corporate interests. D. Delay the policy until all parties fully agree. Answer A. Balance cost efficiency with patient accessibility and fairness. Explanation. A balanced approach ensures that healthcare remains accessible while remaining financially sustainable. Option B is incorrect because prioritizing insurance profits over patient needs leads to public backlash. Option C is incorrect because patient advocacy alone cannot dictate policy. Option D is incorrect because delaying indefinitely does not solve the issue. Thus, the best approach is balancing cost efficiency with accessibility. Question 26. While updating traditional approaches where interconnections between systems are critical and a company faces system integration failures after a software update, what is the best immediate action? A. Roll back the update and analyze the failure causes. B. Continue troubleshooting while keeping the system live. C. Ignore minor issues and move forward with the update. D. Switch to a completely new software system. Answer A. Roll back the update and analyze the failure causes. Explanation. A rollback allows the company to restore system stability while investigating the problem. Option B is incorrect because keeping a failing system live can cause further disruptions. Option C is incorrect because ignoring issues leads to security and performance risks. Option D is incorrect because replacing the system entirely is too drastic without analysis. Thus, rolling back the update and investigating is the best course of action. Question 27. In a scenario where efficiency decreases across multiple teams, a company implements a new project management system, but productivity drops. What is the most likely cause? A. Employees are unfamiliar with the system and require training. B. The new system is inherently flawed. C. Employees are resisting change for no reason. D. The company should return to its old methods. Answer A. Employees are unfamiliar with the system and require training. Explanation. Productivity drops often stem from a learning curve when adopting new tools. Training programs can help employees adapt quickly. Option B is incorrect because the system may not be flawed, just misunderstood. Option C is incorrect because employees often resist change due to uncertainty, not irrationality. Option D is incorrect because reverting to old methods ignores potential long-term improvements. Thus, training is the key solution. Question 28. During a seamless transition where continuity must be maintained, a company shifts from in-person work to a hybrid model. What is the most significant challenge? A. Ensuring clear communication and collaboration. B. Reducing office rent costs. C. Monitoring employees to ensure they are working. D. Forcing all employees to follow the same schedule. Answer A. Ensuring clear communication and collaboration. Explanation. Hybrid models require strong communication systems to keep remote and in-office employees aligned. Option B is incorrect because office costs are secondary to workflow efficiency. Option C is incorrect because excessive monitoring reduces trust. Option D is incorrect because hybrid work requires flexibility, thus ensuring clear communication is the biggest challenge. Question 29. When developing a solution that must address opposing needs, a supply chain manager must balance cost reduction with maintaining product quality. What is the best strategy to achieve this balance? A. Optimize procurement by sourcing high-quality materials at competitive prices. B. Prioritize cost reduction over quality to maximize short-term profits. C. Maintain current suppliers and reduce costs by capping production speed. D. Focus solely on premium suppliers, ignoring cost concerns. Answer A. Optimize procurement by sourcing high-quality materials at competitive prices. Explanation. Balancing cost efficiency and quality requires strategic sourcing where suppliers offer high-quality materials at the best price. This ensures the company remains competitive without sacrificing product standards. Option B is incorrect because prioritizing cost-cutting over quality can lead to customer dissatisfaction. Option C is incorrect because reducing production speed doesn't directly optimize costs or quality. Option D is incorrect because premium suppliers may drive costs too high, affecting profitability. Thus, optimizing procurement with competitive pricing and quality control is the best approach. Question 30. In a high-stakes environment where multiple challenges arise simultaneously, a hospital faces a surge in patient admissions while also experiencing staff shortages. What should be the first step to manage this crisis? A. Implement emergency staffing protocols and prioritize critical cases. B. Increase working hours for existing staff indefinitely. C. Delay patient admissions until staffing improves. D. Reduce medical services to match available staff. Answer A. Implement emergency staffing protocols and prioritize critical cases. Explanation. In crisis situations, emergency staffing protocols help address shortages quickly while prioritizing critical cases to prevent fatalities. Option B is incorrect because increasing work hours long-term leads to burnout. Option C is incorrect because delaying admissions can worsen patient conditions. Option D is incorrect because reducing services may harm patient care unnecessarily. Thus, activating emergency staffing and triaging patients is the best immediate response.